Things are heating up a little bit in India's edtech space right now, specifically in the city of Kota in Rajasthan. Welcome to Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and specifically what's happening here is Unacademy has this plan to open learning centers across India, and they're starting that journey in Kota. And this is not sitting well with Allen Career Institute. Now, obviously, Unacademy is not the only Indian edtech startup moving in an offline direction right now. You also have Byju's. They're going to be opening up 500 Byju's tuition centers in 200 cities across India. You've also got Physicswala opening up Pathshala locations across India as well. So the offline space, these legacy companies that have been around for decades, are starting to feel a lot of pressure. Now, the interesting thing here about this battle between the old education companies and the new education companies is that a lot of the new education companies like Unacademy and Byju's and Physicswala, they have a lot of venture capital that they can pour into things like marketing and opening up offline locations and hiring teachers at very compelling salaries. And so, in effect, what's happening here is that teachers in Kota who used to be working with the old education companies are now moving over to the new ones, and specifically the company that is being talked about a lot right now is Unacademy. Things kind of came to a head when one of the co-founders of Allen, Brajesh Maheshwari, made a video saying that they were going to be blacklisting teachers who went and worked for these new edtech platforms so that when they try to come back to Allen, they won't be allowed in. This video kind of blew up on social media this week, and you've got people from both camps. Some people are defending Allen, saying that they're in the right for protecting their teachers because Unacademy has a mantra of finish the competition, whereas other people are saying that instead of focusing on why teachers are leaving, he should be focusing on taking measures to retain them. Now, I'm honestly not sure what approach or strategy Allen Career Institute is going to be taking to retain their teachers, if they're going to be offering bonuses or salary hikes or something like that. I sincerely hope that their only strategy isn't just to threaten their teachers to not leave and that they won't let them back in if they try to rejoin later on, but they did recently launch Allen Digital on the 14th of June. And so this looks like they're trying to retain the students that they already have as customers, and also they're trying to ensure that in the future they are able to onboard new students as well by taking their existing offline teaching model and offering it as a hybrid learning model to students. All right, next up, let's move on to our founder spotlight now, because I'm going to be highlighting two founders, the founders of Dukaan, Subhash Choudhary and Suumit Shah. Now, the reason I wanted to highlight Subhash and Suumit this week is that they just announced that they're going to be doing something monumental. They're taking on Shopify. Dukaan is going global. Now, Shopify, of course, is a behemoth. They're the #1 platform globally for small businesses to go online. They have a market cap of $41 billion right now, and they're from a city that I actually grew up in, Ottawa, Ontario in Canada. But it seems like Shopify's size now has started to work against it, and Subhash and Suumit have noticed that the platform has become sluggish. The two major issues that brands are facing with Shopify are speed and performance. Subhash explained this really well on Twitter by taking the example of Boat's website, and he showed how the response time in the case of Dukaan is 13.6 milliseconds, whereas in the case of Shopify, it's 1.16 seconds. And as we all know, in today's world with smartphones and super fast internet, every single millisecond matters. And so this is an opportunity that Subhash and Suumit have identified, and they're going to be taking Shopify on. They just launched this international version of their platform, and within 1 week of the launch, more than 1,000 D2C brands have started working with Dukaan. Now, I, of course, am rooting for Subhash and Suumit as people, as individuals. I met them back in April of 2021 when we did interviews, and you can check those videos out up here. But beyond that, I'm also just excited to see an Indian startup going global in such a big way, trying to take on Shopify. And I do feel a little bit torn that Shopify is a Canadian company, Dukaan is an Indian company, but I just think it's great that an Indian startup is going global like this and getting global recognition. But anyways, let's move on to our bird's eye segment now, because 21 Indian startups have raised more than $1 million this week, and the total amount of funds that have been raised by these startups is $637.6 million. Now, leading the charge this week, we have the edtech space, thanks to one company, upGrad, raising $225 million. That's 35.3% of all the funds this week. Then in second place, we have D2C Brands raising $105.5 million. That's 16.5%. And the leader here in this category was skincare brand Wow Skin, which raised $48 million. Next up, we have the social media space raising 12.1% of all the funds this week. That's $77 million being raised exclusively by Mohala Tech, the parent company of ShareChat and Moj. And then finally, we have the B2B infrastructure and construction marketplace space. This, of course, is $50 million being raised exclusively by infra.market. That's 7.8%. All right, next up in the news, let's go through some quick little updates, starting with Paytm. After a very difficult season, starting in November when they went public until today, finally it seems like things are turning around a little bit in Paytm's lending business. For a 2-month period ending in May of 2022, Paytm saw growth of over 471% in its lending business year over year as compared to that same period in the previous year. Getting into the numbers a little bit, during this period, Paytm issued 5.5 million loans worth 3,576 crore rupees. And during this same time period last year, that amount was just 385 crore rupees, which means that they've seen an 8x growth in their lending business this year. Now, besides this increase in their lending business, Paytm has also seen an increase in the number of users transacting on their platform, an increase of about 50% to 74 million users compared to 50 million users during the same time period last year. All right, next up, let's cover the two big acquisitions that happened this week in India's startup ecosystem. We have Shiprocket acquiring Pickrr, and we have Mensa Brands acquiring Pebble. So up until this acquisition, Pickrr was Shiprocket's rival, and they've acquired Pickrr for $200 million. Shiprocket was started in 2017. They're one of the market leaders in India's logistics space, and now they're looking at inorganic growth. They made 5 acquisitions this year, with Pickrr being the 5th. Now, the next acquisition was made by D2C brand aggregator Mensa Brands, and they acquired Noida-based wearable brand Pebble. And this acquisition, of course, will allow Mensa Brands to foray into India's smart wearable segment. So Pebble was started in 2013 by father-daughter duo Ajay and Koma Agarwal, and it offers audio products, fitness wearables, chargers, and cables. Pebble is a pretty significant player in the smart wearable segment with more than 10 million customers in 9 countries, and this is Mensa Brands' 4th acquisition this year. All right, next up in the news, we've got US-based VC firm Sequoia Capital announcing its largest ever fund of $2.8 billion being allocated to Southeast Asian countries and India. $2 billion of this fund is going to be going exclusively to early stage Indian startups. So if this isn't an example of buying the dip, I don't know what is. Sequoia has announced that even during this global slowdown, they expect Indian startups to continue to grow. Currently, Sequoia has 400 Indian startups in its portfolio, and out of these, 13 have gone public in the last 2 years. Anyways, guys, that's enough from my side. I really hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned something from it. Big thanks now to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members who support us financially, our unicorns, our decacorns, and our hectacorns. And of course, also big thanks to you for watching this video through to the end. All right, I will see you in the next one.